Exponential in mathematics is a simple thing. Like if you want to calculate a raised to b, what does it mean? It simply means you have to multiply a b times. For example, if you want to calculate 3 raised to 4, it means 3 will get multiplied 4 number of times and it will be 81. It's simple. So in ancient time, when this exponential thing was being operated, one exponential made every mathematician out there wonder. And that exponential is 0 raised to 0. Why? Why this thing made everyone wonder? Because like this is understandable. 0 raised to 3 is understandable. It will be 0 because you multiply 0 3 times and the answer would be 0. 0 raised to 2, it will be 0 because 0 into 0 is 0. So 0 raised to any number is 0. They knew that because it doesn't matter how many times you multiply 0, it will be 0. The other thing is also very much understandable, like 3 raised to 0 is 1, 2 raised to 0 is 1. Why? Why any number raised to 0 is 1? Because it's simple, like 2 raised to 4 is 16, 2 raised to 3 is 8 and 2 raised to 4 upon 2 raised to 3. If you divide these two numbers, obviously 16 by 8 would be 2. But we could have calculated this value in different way. Like we could write this thing like a by b upon a by c can be written as a raised to b minus c, because c number of times a will get cancelled out and the left a would be b minus c obviously. So 2 raised to 4 upon 2 raised to 3, it will be 2 raised to 4 minus 3, that is 2 raised to 1. It is a correct result. So like that, what if we multiply the same value? What if we divide the same value? What if we divide 2 raised to 4 upon 2 raised to 4? By logic, by this thing, it should be 2 raised to 4 minus 4, that is 2 raised to 0. But we know that 2 raised to 4 and is these two numbers are same number. So if you dividing number by itself, 16 by 16, it will be 1. So 2 raised to 0 is 1. So like that, you can apply the same thing on any number. So like that, a raised to 0 is 1. So to find 0 raised to 0, they put 0 in place of b, and by following this, 0 raised to 0 came 0. But when they put 0 in place of a over here, like if you put 0 in place of a, 0 raised to 0 becomes 1. And it confused people. And obviously, you have to follow the pattern because you cannot calculate it directly. Like calculating 0 raised to 0 directly means you are going to multiply nothing number of times. And even if you try to find sense within it, your brain will respond like nothing number of times, it should be nothing. So many people were convinced that 0 raised to 0 should be 0. Like that is the only logical, like not logical, but that is convincing. It is not. Those time mathematicians did not get convinced because they always look patterns, and there are two different patterns and both giving different answer, and 0 raised to 0 is unique number and 0 raised to 0 cannot take two different values. So what they tried, when later modern way of mathematical calculation was being developed, they tried to find the most convincing pattern. They tried to find a pattern which could sound the most logical, and that pattern was, they noticed both of these numbers are same. So they followed that pattern and traveled to 0. Like 2 raised to 2 is 4. 1 raised to 1 is 1. We are going to travel towards 0. We are going to approach 0. So 0.9 raised to 0.9, it will be 0.909. So as you can notice, the result was decreasing. 0.9 6 raised to 0.6, it will be like 0.73. You can calculate these values when you go to college and you will be able to use scientific calculator. Then 0.4 raised to 0.4, it came 0.693 somewhere, this value. So it was getting decreased, but when they calculated 0.3 raised to 0.3, the result came 0.693, 0.696. It increased. All of the sudden, it increased. They got curious and they went even further. So 0.1 raised to 0.1, it came somewhere, I think 0.79 around. It kept increasing, they kept going on. 0.05 raised to 0.05, it came somewhere 0.8, I think. Then 0.01, 0.01, it came 0.93, something like that. It was increasing, it was going towards 1. So what did they do? Obviously they went closest to 0, like 0.0000001, 0.00001. The pattern is you have to keep both of these numbers same. So they went very close to 0. The result was 0.99999, somewhere it was. It is tending towards 1, and this pattern convinced almost everyone. Like they could, like it was widely accepted that the 0 raised to 0 approaches towards 1. It is safe to say that it is 1. And later when calculus was developed, and if you have studied a standard 12th, then you could simply make a function y raised to x equal to x, and you can find limiting value when x approaches towards 0, and the limiting value of x raised to x would be 1. In a standard 12th you can find this value easily. You can also make the graph of this function, and it will be like that. This value will be 1 somewhere, like 1 raised to 1 was 1, 1 raised to 1 was 1, 0.5 raised to something 0.4. And you noticed that when you were traveling like this, the result was decreasing, but somewhere between 0.4 and 0.3 it changed its behavior, and like this value is something and this value will be 0.3, and when you traveled further towards 0, the value started approaching and it approached to 1. And if you haven't studied a standard 12th, like if you're going into a standard 12th, yeah, some year you will go to a standard 12th, make sure you study calculus in proper way. It is fun, otherwise it will become burden. So x raised to x and x approaches to 0, the result approaches towards 1. So you got the idea. You know that the 0, you know that 0 raised to 0 is 1. But one final thing, what was the value where it changed its behavior? Somewhere between 0.3 and 0.4 it changed its behavior. Is that a special value? Yes, it is. That number is nothing but 1 by e, and e already you know that 1 by 2.7 something. At it this value will be somewhere 0.3, between 0.3 and 0.4. How do we reach to this value? You can simply use calculus to find the point of minima for this function, and the point of minima will come 1 by e. So the next time, it is very interesting curve. So the next time when someone asks you what is 0 raised to 0, you could say that it actually approaches towards 1.